Hello, friend. This is weekly live from Lawyers Design School, and this is Legal Design Thinking in Real Life. It's all about legal design and new possibilities in law. Before we start today, I want to tell you about the free workshop that I'm hosting next week. It's called End Contract Legalese, and it's about expanding your contract drafting skills and exploring new possibilities in law with contract design. It's happening online and it's totally free. And we're offering different times, so you can choose the one that works for you best. To register to this online workshop, go to lawyersdesignschool.com/workshop. So that's lawyersdesignschool.com/workshop. And I hope to see you there to learn about contract design. But today we'll have a different kind of session because I will be the guest and not the host. Our host today is Leanne Summers, who works with me in Lawyers Design School, and she is the SEO brand strategist and copywriter. Hi, Leanne, and welcome.
Hi, Hannah. How are you?
I'm great, and I'm really happy to have you here. Friendly face.
I'm really delighted to be here as well. And, for those of you who are wondering, perhaps, why is a copywriter interviewing Hannah about contract design? Is because I'm an ex-lawyer and I left the legal profession, ran away actually from the law about 12 years ago for many of the reasons that Hannah and Lawyers Design School is trying to overcome now, in terms of a whole bunch of things. The culture around being a lawyer, the culture around surviving as a lawyer, the culture around satisfying clients. And when Hannah and I first met 2.5 years ago, we just immediately clicked because our, I guess, values around serving the community and providing accessible and understandable legal services and its absence in the world. I think we connected, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Big time. And it was amazing that you can actually find someone all the way from the other side of the world and immediately feel such connection. So I'm really, really, really lucky to be working with you.
Definitely. Oh, well, not definitely, but I think we have a unique opportunity because we see different sides of the ledger because you work with the lawyers, you understand what's happening in the business today, the fears, the anxieties, I guess the concerns around moving away from what has always been to what is possible. And part of the reason that I wanted to chat with you today was to perhaps talk about some of the more practical things that I see coming through the dialogue with contract design, because I see lawyer and legal design thinking as a concept itself. And when I talk, because I work with lots of lawyers around the world, and most of them completely understand the need for change. I guess if you look for a common ground among lawyers in terms of there are some things that are not sustainable and some things that are not working in the legal community, I think that there's a lot of agreement around, I don't need to elaborate around that, but there's a lot of fear and anxiety around how to make the shift from what we do today to how we do it tomorrow. So I really wanted to talk to you and perhaps pick your brain a little bit about if I'm a law firm partner or a law firm owner, a stakeholder, perhaps a HR manager or a culture manager, change manager, and my people have gone through the course, we've done the course, because as we know, lawyers, design school, contract design school teaches a whole breadth of change in contract design. How do we actually make it happen in real life in our business?
Well, that's an excellent question, and that is something that I hear a lot, because I think that the journey to legal design or contract design is like, first you get introduced to the concept and then you get excited, but then what about all these other people around me? Because if you're working in an organization, you cannot really push the change alone. So how do you then actually implement and embed all those learnings in the workplace? And to me, I think it all starts with the kind of taking it easy. Let it be easy. So let's not take the most complicated route and decide that, okay, everything is happening all at once, because that's just not possible. So to kind of accept that this does not happen overnight, but take it step by step and start with something simple first is my motto. So try to find something like low-hanging fruit, or some simple project, some simple contract that you can start with, and then and what I typically see is that in a company there may be one people or a small group of people who are doing this work. They are trying different ways of simplifying their contracts, like maybe using bullet points here and there, or maybe using descriptive headings or something, and then they start to use these simple ways, and then when they get feedback from their clients and other stakeholders, then they get the confirmation that, okay, this actually works and this actually makes sense and it has a lot of value for our people. And then when they start to talk about these wins internally, then they get other people involved as well. And if we talk about particularly law firms, they are super interested, of course, what the clients have to say. And I think that for law firms, clients are the one who actually drive the change. So if you're able to show, for example, client feedback to some of the changes that you have done in your contract, and how it helps the client in their processes, so that's super powerful for the law firm partners, definitely.
Sure. And it's interesting to me, because as a copywriter, one of the essential things that I do in my work is to present information as digestibly and as simply and as friction free as possible, because we want people to get to the end of a journey very quickly and very easily, and without disrupting relationships and without disrupting relationships that you've spent a long time to forge and create, and finally get to the end table. So I guess if you were a partner, how am I? Actually, let's talk about in-house lawyers, because they are the people who their stakeholders are their colleagues as opposed to their clients. So what would you recommend would be the easiest way for in-house counsel to introduce these kinds of contract design practices into the way they do things in-house?
Well, it's really interesting to shift gears to talk about in-house teams, because what I see in the workshops and the discussions that I have is that contract design is actually a no-brainer for in-house lawyers and in-house teams. The value and benefits are so clear, like simple and user-friendly contracts are like, this is what we need, and this is what we have been looking for, because it improves efficiency and reduces the workload for the legal team. So, and in many ways, in-house teams are so forced to look for innovative solutions because they are so tight with the resources, and then there's the push, especially. Typically there are not enough lawyers in in-house teams and too much work to do. So they have to come up with innovative ways to solve their problems. And technology is obviously one solution, and it's super powerful to bring automation and all that. But contract design is the needed first step before you start automating, so that you just don't like put in garbage in, garbage out, so that the contracts actually make sense, that you get out from the system. But where to start was the question. Maybe I'll start by saying where not to start. So don't start simply by taking one contract and start changing it and hoping that you get it right. That's one way to do it, but that's not maybe taking into consideration everything that you need to. Because to get started, you need data. You need some kind of understanding of what's going on, what are the challenges, and not from your point of view, but from the user's point of view. And you need, and the in-house people talk a lot about contracting processes and contract processes and the efficiency gains that come through contract design, for example. Those affect those processes, which is really powerful, because then you get scalable benefits. But you need to look at the contract process and start to understand what are the friction points there, what are the challenges that different users and stakeholders have with different contracts and with the way they work with those contracts. Is it in the, for example, sales process? Is it like you always need to negotiate certain clauses in that contract, and you always come up with kind of similar solutions to those challenges? Maybe that's a good data point for you to start digging into that sales contract and what are the clauses inside of that contract. Maybe you could redesign those clauses to make them more balanced and then more easy to understand for all parties. That's one concrete example.
Fantastic. And that I guess leads me to another point. Being a lawyer, I still am in touch with a lot of corporate lawyers, law firm owners, partners. And when I talk about the work that you and I do together and the team does together, often the immediate reaction is, yes, I've heard about this, I understand this, I agree with the need for change. We've spent a fortune on automation. We've spent a fortune on creating a precedent library. We've spent a fortune on doing X, Y, and Z, and we're spending a fortune replacing the lawyers that we're burning out because they're continually, reproducing these precedent documents. And the immediate fear is, does that mean we need to throw all of that out and start again? So for the lawyers who are listening and the partners and the stakeholders, I guess my immediate answer to them is no. It's not about throwing everything away and starting again. It's about, like you say, that there are consistencies through your documentation and through humans and human needs, but it's about using that empathy and recreating it and building on it through your precedent library. So you're not necessarily throwing the precedents out It's recreating a new version of it.
Yeah.
So tell me how that works within the contract design school.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't mean that you need to change everything overnight, and you need to take all of your templates, for example, and redesign everything. And this actually speaks to the kind of specific mindset that is very common to design thinking, that you start experimenting and iterating the work, and start kind of finding these small frictions, and then start the work there, rather than taking the whole which can take, like, I don't know, from 1 to 5 years if you start designing all those, redesigning everything that you have. But it's not what you're supposed to be doing. But start small, start with those low-hanging fruits or simple examples, and then start building traction also internally for those changes. And what's also important, that you start seeing what contract design actually means for your company, because it doesn't mean the same thing for everybody. You need to get clear on what are our challenges, and what are the questions that we get from our employees or customers, or other stakeholders or partners, or whatever, and how do we respond to that. It doesn't always mean that you redesign the whole contract, for example. There can be few key clauses or few key points that you need to work on, and you get, maybe, I like to talk about this 80-20 rule, that many times solving 20% of the problems, you actually you solve 80% of the whole picture. So it's not like, but lawyers have this mindset of being perfectionists, and always doing this like big projects from start to finish, and then that's the way to go. But this is designerly way of thinking, to go gradually, and making these incremental progress with your contracts.
So do you have, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot here, but do you have an example of, where you've been involved or seen just a very small change make a very tangible difference with any clients or students, or excuse me, the work that you've done through your career, or just the work that you're doing with Lawyers Design School and Contract Design School?
Yeah, sure. It keeps surprising me as well, how the most simple changes can really be so transformative. For example, in one of the workshops, I heard that lawyers who had attended the previous workshop, they had added in the very long contract template, they have added short intros to the most difficult contract clauses. Very short sentence, bolded, like what is this clause about? So it's like an intro to the long paragraph, and it felt so small, and technically it's like super simple to do, and yet clients were super happy with that. And this makes it so much more clear, and I'm able to navigate the contract, and I'm able to find those particular clauses. So, and this kind of feedback delights me so much, because and especially, it's not just that the lawyer is super happy, but then the client whom they are serving are super happy, and we see the kind of effect that these kind of changes have. And I don't know, maybe I'm nerdy to be so happy about this, but it just makes so much sense.
No, I agree, because it is such a, I guess it really does bring the level of, we need to completely turn our law firm on our head, down to simply introducing an introductory sentence that not only makes a difference to the client, keeps a client happy, can potentially become a repeat client and referral client, but also makes the potential partner understand easily as well. So it just makes things a lot easier. And it, it's delightful. I guess the reason that I've been nagging and saying, Hunley, I want to talk to you, because is that it's not about turning everything on its head immediately and overnight and coming in and saying, okay, yesterday we were traditional lawyers, today we're contract design thinking lawyers. What it's about is a gradual shift in mindset. And instead of us thinking about lawyers drafting documents for other lawyers, how about we start thinking about drafting lawyers for people who don't necessarily have our level of understanding and expertise. So tell me about.
I must comment on that I've actually had really interesting conversations with lawyers about whether contracts should be simple or not, because they obviously there are so many kind of legal concepts that are difficult, that are complicated, and maybe not all the users need to understand or everything that goes on and everything that goes into, for example, a sales contract. Let's say, I don't know, IP indemnity clause. Maybe the sales guy does not need to understand all the details. So that is also something to think about, that you don't have to redesign every single clause in the agreement necessarily, because, for example, IP indemnity clause is typically, the user for that clause is typically another lawyer who is reading the contract, who understands these concepts. But then it's about creating these layers that Rob Waller was talking about when he was my guest, creating different layers in the contract for different users. So for those clauses that the sales guy need to understand, and then those clauses that he is or she is actually negotiating, then simplify those and maybe create some visual aids or whatever works. So, but not necessarily redesign the entire thing.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And I love Rob Waller's work, that it's not about pulling apart and recreating every single thing about the contract, because there are certain legal concepts that there's not necessarily any need to, recreate and visualize, or, because they're suitable for judges, suitable for other lawyers, suitable for people who are going to be, at the end of the day, if there's a dispute, a problem, they'll interpret them and sort them out. But for the stakeholders who are actually going to be, getting the thing done and the deal done, there is an entire different commercial aspect. And I'm very commercial in my approach to legal thinking, because really at the end of the day, when you engage lawyers, there's my background is commercial law, so we don't get lawyers involved for the love of it. We get lawyers involved because we want to get a deal done. And there's also other aspects in terms of making the law more accessible for people who don't traditionally have access to the law or can't understand the law, which is, or even, they're not, English is not their first language. They're not used to even seeing information presented in that kind of way. Which is what I love about you, because you've been so transformative in terms of making the law accessible and creating social impact and social justice with your contract design. So tell me how contract design and how contract design thinking has changed the way you approach your work.
Oh, it has changed everything. it has changed everything for me and the way I work with contracts. It's funny actually nowadays, even though I'm not practicing law anymore, I still need to do contracts for my business or for whatever reason. And it's funny how when I start to create a document or a contract, I still find, because I've practiced law for over 20 years, so obviously I've learned the traditional way of writing contracts and how to draft, and those words, like, they come flooding to my brains every time I start to type and write contract language. And then I need to, like, no, this is not what I'm doing today. Today I'm writing plain language. I'm simplifying this, and sometimes it requires me to do it, like, I first write the traditional version out of my system, and then I need to change that and figure out ways to also use different visual solutions to that text. But it's really challenging me every time I start to work with contracts. But I do it because I've seen the value, and I've seen the how it actually helps clients so much more. Back then, when I still had my own law firm, I didn't know about legal design as a concept back then, but I was applying that anyway. I was trying to make my contracts as simple as possible, and I created all kinds of kind of checklists and aids for clients to understand what's inside the contract, and they are able to make informed decisions about their own issues and own business. So I feel that with contract design, I'm able to bring humanity back to law, and make law more human. And, well, access to justice is my mission. So this is a tool. Contract design is a tool for that, by making contracts user friendly and simple. And efficiency is another important value for me, and it was for in the law firm as well, because my point was to make the legal information easy to understand and accessible, and I was able to be more efficient myself and allocate the resources, my scarce resources, because it was only me, allocate those resources where they were more needed. So it has had a huge impact, and of course, obviously, all this that it transformed my career as well. And now that I'm teaching it, but yeah, it has had a huge impact on my life.
Sure. So I guess there's now I'm thinking off the top of my head, but now that we have the whole AI revolution and everyone's tired of hearing about AI, but there's a whole breadth of technology solutions and machine learning that is already way, it understands contract design, it understands the concepts. And talking about efficiency, understanding how to prompt, and doing a whole bunch of other things with AI adds a whole other dimension to the way lawyers are going to work in the future. And I guess the overarching, for me, as someone who was a lawyer and someone who was burned out being a lawyer, and someone who experienced that grind, is that it's almost at a point, it's almost now reached a tipping point where if things don't change, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure if that sounds melodramatic or, but humans want human things. Humans want human lawyers. Humans want human people. And humans are used to getting emails they understand. Humans are being able to click a button and get what they need. And yeah, I'm not sure what question I'm supposed to be asking you here, but contract design doesn't need to be about turning your business on your head, but it does need to be about thinking about the people you're serving and the way that you serve them.
Yeah, and I think that the rise of AI and the dramatic shift that we have seen within the couple of months just emphasizes. I mean, we have been talking about this AI is coming for, I don't know, for the past at least 10 years, even longer. And now it's actually here. They're I mean, we can use it every day, and I use it all the time for my work. But that only emphasizes the need for this shift from traditional way of working with contracts and the way we communicate legal information. And we can use AI to help us in generating more simplified texts or whatever. So, but we need to, as lawyers, we need to make the shift in our mindset and the ways we are working to actually get those benefits and actually make that happen and to serve our clients with the help of AI in the future.
Of course, because we don't want our clients to receive our big fat document in 12 font, Times New Roman text, and then take the link and put it in AI and ask it to tell us what this means,
Exactly.
It devalues the value of, it devalues the service that you're providing. So I think there's a whole range of reasons: lawyers getting burned out, clients demanding better levels of service. Technology is now taking over the way that lawyers deliver their service, and people can actually use AI to decipher these contracts. So as a host interviewing you, I would just like to say that Hanalei is providing some amazing webinars on contract design as an introduction to contract design, because it may be new, something that you've not heard about. And it's not about graphic design. It's not about putting little pictures and not about putting little arrows. It's not about changing fonts. It's actually about completely rethinking the way that we communicate with people, and communicating with people in the ways that we already do, in our everyday life. We're used to receiving and consuming content this way every day. It's about how lawyers can catch up and help our customers consume information the way that we've already been used to for decades. So I encourage you to, I'm sure there'll be links in the replay, but please, if you're a lawyer, if you're a stakeholder, if you're somebody who's interested in just thinking about rethinking the way that you do law, doing it a bit different, just start with something simple, smooth first.
Yes. Links are in the comments, so that's lawyersdesignschool.com/workshop. So go there now and save your seat. Hey, thank you, Leanne. It was so much fun to talk to you today.
Yes, you too. And I apologize about my voice, because I've been talking a lot the last couple of weeks and it's disappearing. But it was wonderful to talk with you. And truly, the change is coming. The change is here. So jump on. Get on a webinar.
Amen to that. Thank
Amen
you.
to that.
And bye for now. Bye.
Okay.